Hi, I'm Alan Ross, and we are at Distributech 2025. We've got interviews with thought leaders, and we'd love for you to see what we've done here. Hey, thanks for joining us. Okay, my next guests are some people that I've done interviews before, particularly Claudia
Cosoreanu.
I know I have a hardest time with your name, don't I? But Claudia is with GE Vernova. We did 2 interviews before, haven't we? And they're online, so if somebody wants to find out what you said last time, they can do that. But introduce me to who I'm interviewing as well.
Hi. So this is Marco Simiano.
Hello, Marcos. How are you?
So Marco is our Grid Beats product line leader. I hope you remember Grid Beats. We introduced it in the interview last year. So Marco is going to lead that effort to grow Grid Beats.
So I'm going to ask you a lot of questions about the product line, but I'm going to ask Claudia questions about the future, why, and all of those things. Talk a little bit about what GE Vernova has been up to and where you all are right now.
So as you know, we went public as a company last year.
I think I said it before you went public, and you made me take it back. But yeah.
Yes. So I hope it's been very successful. So we're almost a year into it, and there is a lot of buzz in the industry around GE Vernova. The strategy resonates with our customers, and the mission is to decarbonize and electrify the world. And as you know, we do have the right portfolio to do that. So with the generation businesses, gas and nuclear and steam, they make a good portfolio for the stability of the grid. Yeah. We do have the renewables with wind. We have solar and storage, which is also contributing to the decarbonization. And then we have the electrification business, which is targeted at electrification. Grid Beats, grid automation is part of electrification. And what we've been doing is really engaging with a lot of customers to see, does it resonate? Is everything that we're doing aligned with their goals? And we're getting a lot of, yes, it does.
If you think about it, you cover all of the generation, right? Not anybody does that. You cover all of the generation, and loads are increasing like we never thought they would be. We're like 0 growth for 10 years. Some are 8 and 10% growth, and I think it's only starting because electrification is going to start. You're in the right place from the generation, and you talk about when she says electrification of everything. What does that mean, product-wise? What does that mean?
Well, in essence, we cover really almost everything in the electrification.
I knew you were going to say you cover everything.
We do, but I think I believe it's worth here also to talk specifically about the customer problems, like what are facing in the electrifications due to the renewable integrations. There are many complex problems that are arising from the energy shifts from thermal to renewable. I would like to talk about 4, which are, in my opinion, the most relevant for the segment, and our Grid Beats solutions tries to address those ones. I will start with complex congestions issues that we have, as well as the continuous need of balancing generation with the demand. And as we integrate more and more renewable into the grid, and as the demand itself is evolving, you said there is an increase of the demands, but also the type of the demands is changing. It's making more and more difficult to predict. So our grid owners, which are our typical customer in the electrifications, they are dealing with these challenges, how to manage congestions and how to manage a continuous demand between the supply and the generation. What comes after is instability of the grid. Because now without thermal, you have a significant instability of the grid. You need to be very quick in response with the frequency and voltages. And I think those are the key challenges that we have into the market. And let me add just too quickly, the other aspect is the continuous trade-off between replace an assets or extend the life of an assets. And last but not least is cybersecurity. We see a continuous increase of the threat through cybersecurity, and the vulnerability are increasing because we have many other different ways that hackers are trying to get very important information from the grid. So those four, in my opinion, are the most critical challenges that our customers are facing in the industry.
I want to go back to one thing because you mentioned it, and I got to go back to you. He said grid beat. What is grid beat? I see that was the first time I'd heard that. Is grid beat the solution for it? And by the way, you did say you solve everything. That's exactly. Let's talk about grid beat.
So Grid Beats is our newest addition to the portfolio, and it is the software-defined automation solutions that is purposely designed for grid digitalization. So Marco talked about the challenges that were faced in the industry. Digitalization is key to solving those challenges. And what does that mean? It means instrumenting the grid, so adding more sensors so that we have better visibility. It means connectivity, so bringing that data once you collect it to a control room or a control center, and then analytics. So the use of AI, ML, and we can talk a little bit more about it, but how do we use the data that we collect to get better, a better understanding of the network and to take action to make sure that the grid continues to be reliable and that it is resilient.
So the data because right now utilities have a lot of different data sensors from a lot of different players. Is GridBeats, can it take the data from anywhere, from any sensor?
Yes. So we are planning to have this vendor agnostic solutions. But let me tell you what is GridBeats, because I didn't answer. I just give you at a higher level. So part of GridBeats, there's 5 areas that we're focusing on: digital substation, asset management, substation monitoring, autonomous distribution, and cybersecurity.
You're doing it all again.
I know, because I want you to remember next time.
Absolutely. No, because those are all of the issues that you're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Let me add on what you said about data. We have a lot of
Yeah.
data, which is absolutely true. I think actually we have, in our industry, we have an enormous amount of data. The challenge is that most of the times are not utilized. So we drown on data, but we starve on analytics.
We drown on data,
But we starve on
that is
analytics.
wonderful. I love that. I will steal that.
All right, please do.
Drown on data and that's good.
So I think the challenges we have today is that how to help our customers to gather the data which are currently siloed in several parts of the organizations, and we help them to create a consistent data lake with data fusion, which means the data can be used to cross-correlate to each other, right? Can be cross-correlated and extract insight or whatever is happening on the grid. And I think this is really the step number 1 for our grid digital grid beats solutions. And then what Claudia was saying, we have several pillars which provide specific use case or specific application or solve specific issues of the customer.
So what I've heard here a lot from utilities when we've done this is they no longer want process. They no longer want to buy an asset that they plug and play. What they want is outcomes. Tell me what my outcomes are. Tell me where I have problems, how to fix those problems, because they're losing people at an increasingly rapid pace, both engineering level and at the crew level, right?
Yeah.
Everywhere. So kind of connect me why GridBeats is an outcome-based solution.
Yes. So what we're focusing on for customers and what is really important right now for them is fast deployment. So with the increase in demand, they just can't keep up. So the more we can help them standardize and get the substations done faster, the better. So that's one outcome. Flexibility is the second one. And flexibility in the sense that today, if they need to upgrade what they have, the install base, it takes an enormous amount of money and resources. So what we're designing our GridBeats portfolio to be is flexible. So if in a few years they need to upgrade, which they will because the network is changing so fast, they will be able to do it very fast with the minimum cost. And then resilience. That's the
They
third.
don't make a mistake that they then say, oh, I wish I had done that, that you actually, you know where they're going, again, what the outcome is going to be. That's
Yes.
excellent.
I
Really
think,
good.
Alan, this is a very important point, and our digital substation solution is also address that. Today, the customers are making some decisions in terms of investing, and they want to build new assets, new substation to connect it to data centers, to wherever. Now, the challenge is that that solution, that decisions might not necessarily be true in 2-3 years' time. We come from a time where substations and grid were built and they were operating the same way for 20, 30, 40 years. That time is gone. So whatever we decide today might be valid for 2-3 years. In 4 years, the dynamic might be different. So the investment of the customer needs to be into future-proofed solution, which have the flexibility to pivot to something different. And that's why we advocate digital substations as a real flexible solution, which can be pivot to something different, can change the configuration very easy, change the layouts of the overall control schemes much easier if in 3-4 years the energy flows is completely changing because the ecosystem is changing.
Oh, that's excellent. The flexibility I love. You mentioned resilience because one of the key factors is as we have, people don't think the earth is warming, but we are having worse storms, worse fires. And it's not just on the coast anymore in the United States. It's everywhere. We just had a series of tornadoes that killed more people than the hurricanes did. But it's everywhere. You have ice storms that come in. Resilience, they're building something and then it gets knocked down. So you got to come in and help do that. When you say, hey, Grid Beats helps them with resilience, what does that mean?
So what that means is you do have a solution, a system that is designed to monitor the network, breaks it down into smaller networks, and has the ability to control that network on its own, disconnected from the rest of the grid. So just let's assume that there is a hurricane and the grid goes down. Our zonal autonomous control, which is part of Grid Beats, will be able to take control over the network that it's responsible for, bring that up to normal operating conditions as fast as possible because it has the means to do so, disconnected from the rest of the network. And while the rest of the network is being brought back to normal, you have a hospital or you have a critical infrastructure, an industrial plant up and running as fast as possible with that solution.
AI data center, which is going to need their power, right?
Exactly. And to do that, we actually are utilizing the AI technology. So the AI technology will be embedded in this autonomous distribution or zonal autonomous control to know exactly what is going on, to predict how the load is going to behave, and then to bring it all back to.
I was going to ask you as the last question, where do you think the industry is going? I think you just told me where the utility industry is going to be dealing with problems 3, 4, 5 years from now. And it sounds like what you're building is a system that will work today and be a system that can support them long term, regardless of what happens, right?
Yes. So we do like to call it future proof.
Future proof.
So whatever comes will be ready to support the
So
customers.
I don't have to ask you what's coming because you already know and you future proofed it. No, that is really brilliant. Well, thank you so much for sharing. I was going to ask at the beginning, but I'm doing it. I know your background. How did you get into this whole industry and business?
In the energy business for the last 20 years, mostly on the generations and then also on the grid now. I cover several functions in R&D, commercial, and now product management for Grid Beats.
Well, congratulations. That's really good. Marcus, it's
Thank you
been
very
a
much.
pleasure. Claudia, as always, a pleasure. Thank you.
Same here. Thank you so much.